As promised, I have returned. Whether he wants to or not.
Whether he wants to or not.
At the end of the last video I did, which was the Citizens of Space review, go ahead and check it out right here. Look at me. If you haven't seen that, at the end of that video I said I was going to do, for the next video, I was going to rank all the battle citizens on tier list. So here we are ranking all the battle citizens on the tier list. The reason I wanted to go, or I guess make a separate video to talk about the characters more in depth as opposed to the review that I just did, was to fully avoid spoilers. For the review. In this video, I'm not holding anything back. Can't hold me back, man! What is this? My ghost riding like an invisible motorcycle? So obviously, with that being said, full disclosure, tons of spoilers incoming. I'm so excited to do this video. The most fun thing to do in Citizens of Space was chatting and making friends with all these really out there, wacky, highly charismatic characters. The game was filled with like a barrel of monkeys. No one is the same. Everyone is distinct and interesting. There's so many beautiful faces. As far as character design and how they actually look and how fleshed out they are with their personalities, Citizens of Space nailed those two spots almost perfectly for, you know, my taste. It caught me so off guard and completely took me by surprise. So let's celebrate them all by ranking the most important group in the game on this handy dandy tier list. Here we go, Citizens of Space Battle Citizen tier list. So I am going to be ranking them on like the whole like gamut of their person, so to say. I'm going to be ranking them on stuff like character design, uniqueness, attitude, how useful they are in battle. I'm going to try to be like as non-biased as possible, even though I'm sure, you know, like personal preference will play an eensy beansy tiny little role in how I'm ranking them. But yeah, let's get to it. I think we should start with the character you first meet in the game, and that is Julius. Wow, that's a great... There we go, much better. So, Julius is the first battle citizen who embraces your journey to find Earth's whereabouts. He was offered to join in on an underground crime smuggling scheme run by a bunch of street thug ducks. And after he turned them down because he's a good guy, the ducks got in touch with some politicians, and to make a long story short, Julius got his galactic flying license revoked. After running head honcho Quack McCool and his gang of delinquent water chickens out of town, Julius joins us as not only our personal pilot, but as our initial partner in crime as well. I guess not like partner in crime, I guess like good crime, wholesome crime. Are there any wholesome crimes? Kicking things off, we got a one-of-a-kind appearance, burly man with a metal peg leg, gray beard almost as wide as his torso, and a wisecracking parrot on his shoulder. Fan-freaking-tastic. I wouldn't say Julius is like the BFF of the friend group, but I would say he's the dude who kind of just like vibes along with everyone sort of deal. Like he's just a cool, calm, collected, chill guy to be around, and because of that, I really have nothing to complain about. In terms of fighting, he's a bit of a tank and to a certain extent a one-trick pony. He can deal a ton of damage and hit like a truck, and he can take that damage too. He does have a metal clamp for a hand, so imagine the damage one could do with that. That's about it though. There isn't much variety to his playstyle, but that's okay in my book. He's still fun to play as, and truthfully speaking, one of the better characters in the game because of this. Aside from his one-dimensional playstyle, there isn't much wrong with him. He looks badass, he's a swell guy, and has a straightforward, effective battle technique, and like a true friend, you can always count on him to have your back. Now this may change down the line as we, you know, like go and rank more people, but I'm gonna give Julius like, I think I'm actually gonna give him like a high A tier placement. A+, good stuff. Let's just do in order. So second on the list is literal space cowboy Daryl. Julius suggests we fly to the moon for some reason, and we accept it, and we fly to the moon. When we get there, we meet Daryl and learn that he's the sheriff of the moon, which is a pretty cool accomplishment to have under your belt, I gotta say. We ask him if he has any information on where Earth could be, and he says no, but points us in the direction of someone who might, someone we'll touch on later in the video. Daryl also tells us that the bandits have taken over the appropriately named Bandits Bluff. Things have gotten out of control, and he wants us to head up there and clean it out, so to say, and after doing that, then he'll join us. That's kind of lousy, isn't it? Like what kind of public law figurehead doesn't do their job in upholding the peace and preventing civil unrest? Kind of walked myself into that one. Don't answer that question, that's rhetorical. The bandits don't provide much of a fight, so getting Daryl to join you is simple enough. There's something about a robot AI artificially programmed to think it's a sheriff placed in the Wild West that's legitimately troll and never not funny. He always talks in like this southern drawl and has some pretty solid one-liners too.
Anyway, good sir, our planet Earth has gone missing, and we're in charge of tracking it down. You wouldn't happen to know where it ran off to, would you?
Nope.
Oh. Well, have you heard of anything like this happening before?
Nope.
Nope.
Wearing some cow print chaps and an Arby's hat, very nice. The cherry on top undoubtedly has to be the eyes. It's 50% like Fry from that Futurama meme and like 50% like Daryl being off the molly. Look how squinted his eyes are. I couldn't slide a coin through the slot for a game of pinball even if I tried. Using him in combat, he's kind of your like stereotypical glass cannon, but like the 10th degree turned up for like both sides. As I progressed through the game, I didn't notice much of a difference from how his skill set was executed in battle. He always did a ton of damage and always died randomly and inconveniently. You think someone with a revolver for a finger would be a lot more menacing and like physically threatening, but guess not. Out of every character to join my party, I have 10,000% confidence saying Daryl was the one who died the most, and by a landslide too. Despite his low HP and tissue paper-like defenses being this lingering problem that never went away, it wasn't something that held, myself or other characters back from advancing through the game. Daryl had the most laughably pathetic durability of any character I played with. However, his ability to destroy and blitz through common enemy battles for some quick and easy experience was a godsend. I do think the positives outweigh the negatives here, even though there's like a tremendous amount of both. It's like going to like the worst restaurant you've ever ate at, but then like when you get the bill, you found out the waiter like took like 97% of the bill off. Daryl is very good, but nowhere near as good as Julius. For the moment, I'm gonna give Daryl like a firm A-. The person Daryl wants us to locate is the astronomer, aka Gloria. The moon hair-shaped telescope eyeball goggle wearing senior citizen. Finding her is such a royal pain. You have to navigate this metal warehouse that's set up like a cornfield maze where everything looks the same, and I truly did feel like a rat that was stuck in a maze. A maze that had no prize at the end, or exit for that matter. This part of the game is particularly tedious. It's pretty much one excessively long road with little to no deviation. The environments are fine, but get stale to look at after a while. It's dull, it's plain, and mind-numbingly boring. I suppose most warehouses are like that though, so mission accomplished. Once we find Gloria, she tells us she's located but a single piece of planet Earth, and it's on a nearby planet called Charfrost. Gloria's been tucked away in this bunker for years, and she can't remember the last time she's seen sunlight, so she joins our party, and with that, we leave the moon. In battle, she's okay. Her attacks do about average damage. She has about average HP and an interesting mix of ice, fire, and electric attacks. What's ultimately the nail in the coffin for making Gloria a high-tier character is the duration of her minigames during her moves. Now, they're not overly long, but I can do double the damage in half the time with Julius or Daryl. So she's held back just because she's herself. Now, she does actually make up for this, I believe personally, with her personality. She acts like that aunt or a grandma that you only see at like family get-togethers, who's like trying to act all like cool and hip for the kids, who's had like maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 too many drinks. Gloria doesn't excel anywhere as far as like actually using her in anything, and in comparison to the rest of the people on this list, she's middle of the road with pretty much everything. Not great, not bad, just respectable, and I guess average because of that. I'm gonna give Gloria a solid middle. I mean, some people might think this ranking is like bad, but for me, this is like middle of the road. I'm gonna give Gloria a C tier placing. Okay, who do we actually get next? I don't remember. Oh. Okay, this is gonna be a good one. So upon landing on Charfrost, we immediately discover it's inhabited by a race known as the Phrygian. Think of the Phrygian people as Eskimos, if Eskimos were midgets and obsessed with hot cocoa. The next character we recruit is one of the Phrygian people. He looks like all the other ones and he acts like all the other ones, but he's made special because he's a park ranger trapped inside a giant block of ice. Nice job, buddy. And that is my friend here named Elwynn. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. As interesting as like of a character as he looked, and as fun and really good as he was to use in combat, I legitimately had no clue how to get this guy to join my party. Elwynn, as I named him, is one of the handful of battle citizens who aren't tied directly to the plot of the game, meaning acquiring him isn't even necessary, going after him is completely optional. Turns out he was searching for some missing children. A blizzardy winter wonderland is no place for some small tykes to be wandering around, thus Elwynn joins us and we gotta help him search for the children, or so I thought. If you don't find where these children that Elwynn have like lost or looking for are before leaving Charfrost, he just stays put. He's like, no, I'm not going, and he just stays there. He doesn't follow you. And when I tell you I have no clue, I have no idea where these kids are, I'm telling you, I have no clue where these kids are. Long story short, rumor is the kids were kidnapped into a forest by a Yeti. You follow the footsteps and boom, Yeti in a cave. So our story is seeming to like add up here so far, but the Yeti tells us the kids crept into his cave and got spooked and ran out. And I'm inclined to believe him, because if I've ever seen a trustworthy face before, that's definitely it right there. The Yeti says he saw the kids go opposite of the way they took to get here when they left, which goes against everything he just said. Maybe not so trustworthy after all. Now this is gonna be the part where I like vent some frustrations and like release some like inner demons this game created with me, because this part, man, right here, this part. The footsteps create a path from the entrance of the forest to the cave where the Yeti was. Going off what the Yeti just told us, my logical assumption is to follow what he just said. So first train of thought was to do the direction I took here, but flipped. Like the last path I took to arrive here was coming in through the left, so now I exit to the right. Mirror mode it, so to say, but nope, didn't work. The only other idea I could think of was to come through the entrance, then mirror mode it from there. Keep in mind, most areas you enter while going through this like snow-infested forest area have a 4-way crossroad path each section you go to. At this point, I'm completely stumped. The final idea I had before resorting to cheating and searching the answer online was to go back the same way I came, then do the opposite of the way I did when I entered. And just like saying those words, like, I'm sure you guys hearing me say this sounds insane. Imagine like actually playing it and trying to do it. At this point, I just said to hell with you, Elwynn, and left them behind. Periodically, from time to time, I did come back here and there to try to figure out just what in the hell I was supposed to do, but I never did figure it out. It's like trying to read a Where's Waldo book that doesn't have Waldo in it. I literally finished my playthrough of this game without recruiting him to my party. So like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, when I was on Charfrost and I was using him in battle, he felt great. He felt like a tank, had a ton of health, did a ton of damage, really straightforward, really, good with brute power, kind of like Julius was, but like, I couldn't get him, and he was so annoying to even try to get, and I never did get him, which is a shame. It would have been a real help to have him aboard and like actually use him throughout the course of the game. He's also one of 2 characters who, for some reason, area of the game was so, I guess, intense that it lagged my capture. I know it was their spot too, because I'd go to a different world in the same recording session and it'd be perfectly fine. So Elwynn just totally inconvenient and ruining everything. I'm giving Elwynn a freaking E tier ranking. Screw you, man. Next up is number 4. Hopefully you're not a bore. It is... Alright. You guys are going to love this one. Next battle citizen to join the team is our good friend here, Gloria. Yep. Major brain fart moment. Now this is pretty bad that I gave 2 characters the same name, and I didn't even like notice that I did until I started like making the icons for this tier list, and like I didn't even notice while I was playing the game or editing my review. Like, the hell is wrong with me? So here we have Gloria, or Gloria V2, or Robot Gloria, whatever you want to call her. To get her into your party, you have to complete this minigame where you grab 100 lollipops in the span of like a couple of minutes or so. It's laughably easy, so getting her to follow you in your journey is as easy as counting to 1. It's like the dumbest joke ever. It's not even a joke. I don't dislike her design, but I'm not in love with it either. I can't even really pinpoint why, if I'm being honest. Perhaps it's a little bit too over-the-top cutesy for my taste, I don't know. Like, it's trying too hard to be cute instead of just naturally, like, being cute, like Zendaya. I do dig her shtick, though. It feels the most unforced. Is that even a word? Unforced? With Daryl, they pretty much just gave him the southern accent and a gun for hand, and that's as much as the cowboy bit that is played to with him. With Gloria V2, we have a confectioner who heals people with her delicious pastries, and that's just brilliant. Fire damage with a shooting thermometer, and there's something violent about her putting a full force swing into smacking someone in the face with a beater. It looks fearsome. Look at those eyes, she's not playing around. Her definite upside by far is that like she's the best healer in the game, like hands down. No debate. She saved me a bunch of times in combat, like just using her to heal other people. And even though she is like the person who's like cast as the healer role, you can still deal some pretty solid damage with her. Robot Cake woman Gloria is well balanced across the board, but her incredibly helpful healing abilities make her one of the most versatile party members to have. Definitely worth a frontline spot of the 3 characters that you use for every battle. Definite high tier for sure. Only thing that would make her better is if she did more damage, but by then she'd be like totally broke, you know? I'm gonna give her a solid A tier though. Well done, other Gloria. Once you help the Phrygian people on Charfrost by defeating Emperor Pengril, who is just absolutely massive by the way, we're able to use his weight as a ruler from another planet to finally persuade the Galactic Federation to request a new ship, which we're granted, and it's located at our next stop, the Junkyard. This is where we meet Battle Citizen number 5. Jacques, the fancy French escargot chef. Not sure why he has a restaurant in a junkyard. That seems pretty not ideal at all, but I guess I won't question it. Now, having 2 workers of the food industry as back-to-back recruitable fighting characters in an RPG game does sound like kind of crazy, but I do suppose that like if you worked in the same environment as Gordon Ramsay does, I think you'd be liable and prone to violence at any given second, just like he is. While welcoming you to his restaurant, he whips you up a platter of your choice. But then the food decides it's not being eaten without a fight. Literally. Here we get a mini boss battle in the form of you and your battle citizens versus this dangerous dish. I'd be lying if I didn't say this battle was like actually kind of difficult. Took me like 10 minutes to beat this thing. Almost lost Daryl and Robot Gloria along the way. 4 people versus 1 egg. 1 egg! Upon saving Jacques from his own creation, he joins the squad. My favorite part about having Jacques with us is when we get to use him in battle, he's so fun to play as. Being a snail capable of making many meals, it only makes sense that his moveset be as varied as his recipes are. Every time Jacques' turn comes up in battle, you get a totally different moveset for every time you can, you know, play him using your turn. And I don't know if I've seen any character like that in an RPG game ever, where your moveset is different literally every time you use them. One turn you could have an assist moves that gives allies a speed boost and health regen, and opposite of that move, when you go up next, a move that can insta-kill the entire enemy team. It's insurmountable power. Sometimes you might have a mix of weak attacks and status effects. Sometimes he may bring you something good, other turns something crazy. At first this kind of made me shy away from him, you know, the fact that he doesn't really have like a set in stone role. You know, he's not the tank, not the damage guy, not the healer, not the status effect guy. Inconsistency, especially in RPG games, is something that like really turns me away, because if you can't rely on a character for anything, then they're pretty fickle to use. But when I just started using him more and more, and I saw like the moves he had and what he could do to enemies, I started to realize, I was like, oh, like this guy could be a huge problem. He can make other fighters more dangerous, make enemies weaker, all while doing a ton of damage himself. The toolkit he has at his disposal really helps to bend any battle strategy to your will on a whim. His diversity is insane. I first viewed Jacques as like that weird, niche, unusual character that you play as just to say you're playing as him. Kind of like the same way people like go out of their way to play as Little Mac or the Mii fighters in Smash Ultimate. After putting a ton of time into him, mixed with a bunch of different combination of other battle citizens, I can safely say that the potential of basing your entire playstyle solely around Jacques can carry you through the majority of the game pretty easily. Jacques is undeniably one of the best characters in the game, top 3 for sure. I do want to give him S tier, but S sounds... that might be a little too overkill. He actually might be the best character in the game though. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to move Julius from an A+ and put him in the middle of A with Gloria, Robot Gloria. And Jacques will go in A+. After finally tracking down our new piece of crap ship, it turns out we're in for a bit more than we bargained for. Not only is it gargantuanly gigantic, it's currently being defended by our next acquirable citizen, the Exterminator. I dig her design a lot. There's just so much cool stuff going on with her. Tan, overly tight short shorts that look like something a camp counselor would wear. Chemical reaction explosion shoulders look like I'd need a tetanus shot if I touched them. The pest gun looks relatively badass. Not so sure about the ooze coming out of the mouth and neck though, that's a little foul. You ever had a family dog that never stopped drooling? The best part though, look how tiny that hat is! It's so tiny! Sadly, as fun as Souza is to look at, the same can't be said for when she's in combat. Almost all her attacks involve her gun shooting out various mists of poison, which is fine, I expected as much, but what spearheads her downfall is her inconsistency. From what I could genuinely find, with no discernible reason, her attacks will either do insta-kill levels of damage or just miss entirely. It's pretty brutal if I'm being honest. It's at like a 25%, 75% clip of like her attacks doing insta-kill levels of damage, like 25%, and her attacks missing like flat out 75%, and I could find no consistent reason as to why she was like this. It was really bad, and for the whole game too. What can I say? When she kicked butt, but when she didn't, and more often than that she didn't, inconsistency plagues Souza like flying plagues flies. There may have been some rhyme or reason for why her effectiveness was so damn fickle, but I couldn't find it. Trust me, I tried my best to do so, but it just never worked out. Out of everyone I looked at so far, she's the least useful in battle, and because of that, often stayed out of the usual rotation and stood as a desperation backup fighter more than anything. Souza looks cool, acts cool, but doesn't play that well. If her attacks hit, you know, like more than a bare minimum, I'd rank her much higher, but because of that, I simply can't, so I'm gonna give Souza a C+ ranking. From here on out, it's basically up to our own wits to travel to different planets and find info on / locate pieces of Earth, so still kind of a straightforward story, but scattered in different directions, which I guess is not straightforward at all. At this time, I encountered the rest of the remaining cast back to back fairly quick. I want to say in the span of like around an hour and a half. Next person I bumped into was the Time Cop, and let me tell you, there ain't no cop cooler than a Time Cop. I'm pretty sure I don't have to go into that much great detail as to why Time Cop is such a stud. S-tier mullet, S-tier shades, S-tier stash. Design-wise, it's very hard to top this. His moveset is very kung fu and kick heavy. Surprisingly, they're actually pretty lackluster though. There's nothing special to them. They don't excel in fun, they don't excel in power, they're just there. They work, they're not awful, but nothing to write home about either. A flavorless meal it is, but it fills you up just fine. Personality and looks, Leroy is at the top of the list, but as far as like usefulness and productivity, he's near the bottom. And in a way, he kind of balances himself out with that, so I'm gonna give Leroy a middle of the road B tier spot. After that, we traveled to a planet called Tropicool. Imagine if Hawaii was its own planet, and you already know what Tropicool is. Here's where we meet the next recruitable battle citizen, which was an angler who I named Sarah. Kinda sounds like a Pokemon NPC you'd fight against in the handheld games. Angler Sarah. Similar to Leroy, off the bat I'm in love with her. Her design is insane. We got a skin tight one piece, what do you even call this thing? Is she just wearing overalls? That's all she's wearing, overalls? Filling out overalls. A very underrepresented category of females in video games too, may I add. Maybe Sarah can be a new trendsetter, you know, like be the pro wrestling equivalent of China for video games. It's gotta start somewhere, right? She speaks only in fishing puns, which I can only imagine how many hours all those lines took to come up with. It's almost exclusively dialogue through implementing fish words, which is actually rather impressive.
I'm no pacifist!
Can be a bit overimposing for some people, but she sat fine with me. As you can tell, kinda hard to show that when water moving like water mucks up your whole recording. Unfortunately, also similar to Leroy, she's somewhat underwhelming when it comes to using her in battle. You know, good personality, kinda boring skill set. Some straightforward punch attacks, which is exactly what anglers are known for, is punching people right in the face. She has some cool target moves. One that lets you punch people back immediately whenever you get attacked, like an immediate counter sort of move. And another one that makes it so enemies can only focus on you and attack you regardless of who they actually want to target. Some really funky move pool here. She's sort of an awkward specialty character that doesn't fit smoothly anywhere. I love her appearance though, she's pretty cool. solid C tier, methinks. At last, I get to talk about the cream of the crop, the pick of the litter, the best character in this game by far. And that is none other than the engineer, aka Celsia. To recruit her, you have to solve this engineering problem she's stuck in, which equates to walking through this maze of disappearing platforms that vanish after walking over them once. Screw anything up and you gotta redo it. I'm proud to say I actually did this my first time, which is crazy for me. Like, I'm taking in all the small victories here. It was crazy for me because I'm terrible at any puzzle in any kind of game. It doesn't even have to be a puzzle game. I'm terrible at any puzzle in general. I could be tasked with putting a baseball through a circular hole and I'll find a way to mess it up. Celsia has crackhead energy, but like the Diet Pepsi equivalent of crackhead energy. Like, she's always like mischievous and up to no good, but she's never like actually like mean or like rude or evil. I forget where I drew this comparison in a previous video, but I would also compare Celsia to Ashley Spinelli from Disney's Recess. Like, she may be tiny and scrawny, but mess with her and she won't be afraid to throw the first punch. Only word I can properly describe her in battle is devastating. She deals so much damage, it's ridiculous. I can wipe out one person or the whole enemy team with just her in one move. She can even heal too. What can't she do? The answer is nothing. She really can do it all. The only downside to her is she has really low HP. She did die a few times with me in combat, but her strengths totally make up for this. S tier, hands down, best battle citizen in the game. Even though Celsia is like undeniably the best character in the game, and Jacques, I would say, is like undeniably the second best character in the game, the gap in how like actually good they are as far as like usefulness is like so huge. It's like measuring the distance from Alaska to Italy in millimeters. How do I think of anything I say? Like, oh look, it's something that sucks, and that is undoubtedly Travis the pop star Starfish. Along with Sarah and Celsia, he too was located on Tropical. You get him to join your party by doing this weird Guitar Hero minigame ripoff. It's all just very weird. I thought having this dude in the party was gonna be fun, like a pop star who thinks he's hotter shit than a porta potty in hell. I had no idea what I was in store for, but I was excited. This guy is trash. He is dreadfully useless. He's just not a good fighter. Like, I would rather have an armless boxer fighting on my party than Travis. D tier, no good. I think that Travis's inclusion, not only in the game, but as a playable character who fights on your team, was a joke. Like the devs doing an inside joke within themselves of how they put such an utterly useless, non-threatening, weak wimp of a starfish like Travis on your team. This is probably Battle Citizen I have the least to say about, and like rightfully so. The only reason he's not a D- is that he at least has some personality to grasp and latch onto, but even then, who likes hanging around snooty, self-obsessed musicians? Did we save the best for last? Well, apparently not. Last and certainly least, we have the athlete, better known as Sandez. Getting her in my party was pretty difficult, but for all the wrong reasons. When you have any characters that require completing a task to get them to join you, it'll be marked in your mission log and map. Sandez never had one. I had no clue where she was for most of the game. By the time I finally found her, I'd done so much that she was part of my experience for like less than 5% of the game, maybe even like 2% if I'm being totally honest. Still though, I managed to spend enough time with her to gauge how she is. I gotta say, I ain't a simp, but I might be now. Facial bandage like Nelly, hoop earrings like we're back in the late 80s, early 90s, that hourglass figure, and that big, full, thick piece of metal. Heavy metal. Confidence is hot, and so is Sandez. She's bad, and she knows she's bad. The perfect combo of looks and approachability. Thank God, I actually might have a chance. A lot of attacks with her ball and bat, which is obviously bound to hurt should the situation be real, but that's the extent of anything interesting here. She's not particularly strong, she's not particularly fast, and she's not particularly technical. Sandez easily gets lost in the ocean of characters that are the battle citizens. Outside of being someone I'd take a bullet for, 50 of them if I had to even, she doesn't really do anything special or exceptional. Sandez, you know I love you so much. But gotta be honest. I'm actually not even gonna move you at all. Like I was just floating around right here where I should put you. I'm just gonna leave you right here in C-. There's characters way better and worse than her, and because of that, they stick out more. If Sanda's was anything close to a Butterface, as mean as that sound, I'd easily shove her down to like D-. Her looks and personality make up for her painfully average moveset and utility as a playable character. So there you go, boys and girls, cats and squirrels. This is what I truthfully believe to be the most accurate, non-biased Citizens of Space Battle Citizens tier list. I'm well aware that this game like doesn't have that big of a following, or like as big of a following that like I think it should have, so please, if you thought the review was good that I did, or if the game looks interesting, or if you thought these characters looked fun and unique to play as from how I talked about them in this video, then please by all means like go and check out the game. It's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the better hidden gems I played in 2020, and like one of the better hidden gems like I've really ever played in my life. I can't stress enough how enjoyable this game actually was to play. After finishing it, I can say that this is easily one of the best RPGs I've ever played. Everything is just so astoundingly good. I'm gonna wrap this up and probably go to bed. Sandez has got me mad thirsty now. Good thing I got this case of water with me, because I'm gonna need it.